This is Hunter Crate, and I am here with the Lions losing's biggest fan, Juan Perez. How are you doing today, man?
I'm ready to cry, kill myself.
Yeah, boy.
I'm not doing too great, if I'm being honest with you.
Yeah, I figure we might as well just start off with that because it's like the shadow hanging over the podcast after how hype we've been the last couple.
Months.
And that was a tough. Yeah. Last couple of months. This is a tough way to go. I'm not repressing anything at all. This is a great time.
I have a few choice words, but I'm going to start with, I seen something on Facebook when you were letting the dogs out. It's a picture of Jared Goff with all of his ice on. And it's a picture of him wearing his buff glasses. And it's like an emoji hand picking them off of his face, and it said, "We're gonna need our buffs back, my boy." Seriously, dude. Like, I was watching this fucking game, and obviously, the defense is bad. Let me just start with, I'm not a big football guy. So nobody cook us for how we talk about football. I mean, I like football, but not American football. So.
I'm in about the same boat.
Exactly. I'm watching this, and obviously everybody in the country knows our defense is pretty beat up right now. Like, a lot of people are hurt, all that shit, so we just couldn't stop a single drive. And then Jared Goff decides to go on the fucking field and throw every goddamn pass they can right to the enemy fucking team so that they can go and score. Like, we need to get him off of the fucking team, or I swear to God on my life. Alright, I feel a little bit better.
Get it out.
Dude, I was hanging out with Ethan and Ricardo last night, and Ricardo was like, "Are you okay? It's just a game." And I'm like, seriously, I'll go get my gun right now. Like, do not fucking test me, bro. I was in such a bad mood.
Yeah, I was like, I probably picked a good one to miss, to be honest with you, because driving home like an hour and just being pissed off about the game was probably not the best move.
No, like, Jess and Lexi were just off in the corner talking. So it was like me and Logan were like still just watching the TV, but Ethan and Ricardo were watching the fight. And they were like, just give up, the game's over. But there was still like 6 more minutes to go. So me and Logan were like on the edge of our seats every time. And then Goff just kept fucking me in the mouth. Like, he was straight up diddying me. And I was just so bummed out, dude. And, like, the fights, I guess, were going good. I don't know. But I was just like, all right, guys, I'm probably just going to go home. So I just straight up left.
I don't want to watch this show no more.
Dude, oh, my God. It was such a bummer. And then everybody was crying about TikTok closing down, too. So I was like, I'm not in the mood.
Yeah, that was tough. Going, maybe I'll watch some TikTok and cool off from the Lions game. And then before you know it. Yeah, I'm going to bed. I'm leaving my phone on the counter. This is over. Everything's over.
Everything, dude. I'm not super pressed about TikTok, if I'm being honest with you. I only ever use it at the gym when I'm doing cardio. But I understand that it's pretty frustrating for a lot of people. But I heard that it's back on now because I guess they're going by whatever Trump said. And Trump said that he's going to unban it the minute he goes in.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I won't go too far into it, but it is definitely... I'll just say it's a scary precedent to be banning apps that are primarily used to exchange information. I think that's a little bit spooky in general, but it does seem like it's back. It looks like the feed is refreshing again now, literally like just a day, not even a day later. So we'll see what happens with that. But that was definitely one of the things I wanted to talk a bit about on here because it's kind of like big news, and a lot of pop culture information is shared and exchanged, and like. There's so many fan edits of new movies and video games, and there's all sorts of, like a lot of people our age primarily consumed gaming content, for example, on YouTube when we used to watch Rooster Teeth and a lot of those channels like Machinima, etc. But now I feel like a lot of gaming content is aimed in this short form media like TikTok or Reels or whatever.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And maybe that's partially to do with the shrinking of people's attention span. Holy cow. Attention span from these apps, but,
I am one of those elitists that think every app kind of has, like, its heyday. So, with TikTok, I feel like I lost a little bit of that. I don't feel like it's really been that exciting, that fun or fresh recently. I feel like the big age difference in the type of stuff that you would see on it is kind of like what was really stopping me from enjoying it that much. So that's why I'm like not that pressed that it's gone. But I do get what you mean. Like now that Twitter is just for you know, chud losers, Facebook's for everybody's parents and chud losers. There's not really been like a really good replacement, and I feel like TikTok's been like the one that's very been like everybody's really kind of stuck with it. There's not a lot of people that are like, oh, I got rid of it for any other reason other than being addicted to it. Like a lot of people still like it. They can find good environments to be in, make them feel good, positive, laugh, all that stuff. But I mean, it really, a lot of it comes down to the elephant in the room is like, we're really only getting rid of it because one, our government doesn't realize it's not technically a real Chinese company. It's a Singaporean company. It's a capitalist company. But they are just mad that they can't have all the money from it. And that's why they got rid of it. And I think that is something very foolish when so many people enjoy, like, to get rid of something because you can't capitalize on it when it makes so many people's lives better. That's kind of a big bummer.
Well, there's also like a lot of small businesses that use TikTok as their primary means of locating clientele or sharing their product and stuff like that, because it's a free way to advertise. If you make your video a little bit funny, you can go viral, etc. So I think that there's an element of it that actually is probably harmful directly even to American like tax base and revenue, removing the amount of just content people view on there, either through ads or for funny content that's really an ad also. But I do think there's actually a pretty big loss for our markets as well by getting rid of it.
Yeah, it's actively taking away American businesses because the elite can't have their hands in the pie.
Yeah, it is kind of funny to be like, we're banning this app because it's Chinese when they just simply got outcompeted. Like, it's just a better app for most people in a specific demographic than Facebook or Twitter. And also short form video is like, it's obviously so successful that Facebook copied it, Instagram, or like the Meta company copied it. Like pretty much everything but TikTok, or not TikTok, everything but Twitter or X has their own version of TikTok now.
Yeah, and I think from what I was seeing from the guy who runs Blue Sky, which is like kind of like my new favorite social media, is I think that he planned on introducing that. And I think that update will be out soon. Like, he wanted to get that sort of video media sort of in there. So even if they do end up fully getting rid of TikTok, I mean, I'll be okay, because I think that the new influx of young people that'll want to definitely stay away from Twitter definitely won't go to Facebook. They might actually go to Blue Sky, and then we can maybe have a revival on an app that I think is actually kind of nice.
Yeah, that would definitely be nice. I would definitely be a lot more interested in Blue Sky Reels than Facebook. I'm not or Meta, whatever. I'm not really a big fan. Yeah, the only thing that keeps me coming back to Facebook, outside of just like there's a lot of people that I only can keep in touch with through like Facebook Messenger, is the groups on Facebook.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Are the only. Yeah, some of them are pretty funny, and a lot of them are very informative for the type of like hobbies I'm into outside of gaming.
Yeah.
So it's a good sphere for that sort of thing. But part of that is because a lot of those hobbies are dominated by like an older demographic as well.
True.
So the stuff like fish keeping and keeping aquatic turtles and painting miniatures and smoking meat is typically an older demographic on average.
I would say so. Anything to do with your hands, honestly. That's just, young kids are not into that really as much anymore.
They're just into using those damn thumbs to scroll on their applications.
They're not going to be scrolling on TikTok.
Well, maybe they will again soon.
I will probably agree with you, though, like, because I'm just now sort of getting into Reddit because I'm trying to move away from Facebook. I think after I get married, I might typically stay off of it. Trying to get into Reddit to get that same sort of, like, community thing that Facebook has, because Facebook has by far the best Star Trek, Star Wars. Yeah, I'd say Star Trek and Star Wars groups out of any of the social media apps I've ever used. Like, I think Facebook just has the best, but like, also, let's be honest, the people that are going to be the most active in those sort of things, especially for Star Trek, Star Wars, Warhammer, all that sort of thing, they're definitely going to be older than us, honestly. So we're like on the tail end of the people who are like diehard, fans for a lot of those really cool, 20th century IPs. So I just haven't been able to find any, because I'm really, really, really into Star Trek. I haven't really been able to find too many good Star Trek things outside of Facebook.
Yeah, I do. I do use Reddit for similar things that I use Facebook for, but I do a lot more reading on Reddit than posting. Like I don't know why.
Yeah, me too.
It's just kind of a personal thing or whatever. But I have been posting a little bit more in the groups I'm in on Reddit. But I do think that there is a lot, and this is true for any social media app. Just anytime you're dealing with large amounts of people, who the vocal people are the people you hear, is just like there's a lot of people on Reddit that I just cannot handle the things that they say and post on there.
Yep, I know exactly what you mean.
And it's definitely true. It's definitely true for Twitter, which is why I left, and it's true for Facebook. But Facebook, at least I can just delete people. It's a little bit easier or whatever.
Yep, I have to block so many people when I'm on Reddit because I'm like, you're just something else.
Yeah, there's a lot of bad faith actors on Reddit as well who just like don't actually want to participate in the conversation. They just want to like somehow make the entire topic about themselves.
It also doesn't help that Reddit has like the worst interface I've ever seen. It's like a late 90s forum still, which I get that's 50% of why people are on it. They like that aesthetic. But like if I'm going on to something, like I'm in a lot of Elder Scrolls and Elden Ring groups. I don't even know what the fuck they're called. Reddits? Threads, or whatever they're called on that.
Subreddits?
Yeah, I've been on them. Subreddits, there you go. And they'll have a question that I'm also asking, and I'm like, oh, sweet. Here we go. Here's a great answer. And then you just have 10 minutes of scrolling through chuds that haven't actually contributed at all to the conversation. Because it's just like you get a comment, and then the next 9 pages of scrolling is going to be just that same thread. And it's like, oh my god, somebody please answer the fucking question.
Yeah, there's I don't know. Reddit is another one that there's really nice things about it, and there's some pretty frustrating parts about the app or whatever. But I am one of those old folks who likes the fact that it's kind of like a old school forum, because especially for stuff like Warhammer, I remember being a kid and using my parents' computer at the house to go on like Tapatalk or go on some of the older, I'm trying to think of what some of them were called, but some of the old forums or whatever, and looking at people's Warhammer army lists or looking up places to go in video games that I couldn't figure out how to figure it out, and there'd always be some like in-depth thread on a forum I would find or whatever that like walk you through how to beat a really hard boss that you got stuck on or whatever, how to paint something or how to build something, whatever it was.
One of my earliest ones, especially because me and Hunter are sort of in that age group where when we were getting a hold of video games and online, YouTube was just really kind of starting to be a thing. And people capturing games that weren't on just VHS tape was like basically unheard of. So yeah, forums was where you would go. One of the ones that I used a lot was GTA and KOTOR. I'd be in KOTOR forums consistently. I did not know about game guides until I was older, like maybe middle school-ish. So it's like I would just get on the fucking Windows XP and try to find a fucking forum for KOTOR to give me an answer for a quest.
My big thing about like the video game books and stuff like that, or like any of the guides and stuff like that, was like I was using my allowance money to buy Warhammer figures or video games or whatever it was I was looking up. So like I didn't want to pay extra money for something to tell me how to enjoy the thing that I already was spending my money on. You know what I mean? It's like spending an extra $20 or $40 on like a game guide when I just spent all my allowance money I was saving up to buy the new video game. Like feels pretty bad.
Yeah, when forums are free.
Yeah, so that definitely influenced me quite a bit against those books. And I remember my brother used to get some of those game guides and stuff like that, and some of those were as expensive as the game for like the hardcover ones.
Yeah, I'm actually a collector of them now. I have every single Halo one, all the Fallout ones. I'm working my way through the Elder Scrolls ones, and I have the KOTOR ones. And yeah, they're years later, they're still expensive as hell, even though there used to be millions of them for all these games back in the day. They're still just expensive. They hold their value. People always want them. Plus, they look nice on the wall.
They definitely look nice for that. But that is, sometimes I feel bad when I have a bunch of those, and I'm like, man, I don't look at these, I don't use them, and it's like so much paper and so much stuff all together or whatever. It's just like for a flash in the pan thing, especially for games that kind of didn't hold up well to the march of time.
That's why I don't typically buy game guides for games that I haven't invested a lot of time in. That's why I only really have them for the games that like the games that you always keep on your hard drive. That's what I buy game guides for. It's actually funny you bring that up, and you're making me feel bad. I just went through the Dark Souls again early last year, all of them. And, yeah, I have a Dark Souls 1. Oh, yeah, I got all the Dark Souls and Elden Ring ones, too. But I have the Dark Souls 1 guide, and I kept looking shit up on my phone. I had like 4 different pages on my phone up for the month I played that game. And I had the goddamn game guide 3 feet away from me that had every single fucking answer I had without goddamn ads. I felt like a fucking idiot. I forgot all about it, if I'm being honest.
That is really funny, though. I feel like I would probably do the same thing, to be real.
Well, the thing is I have so many. Because, like, the Fallout, well, any Bethesda game and the Elden Ring one, I know for sure because, like, I'm grabbing it before I start the game. But, like, Dark Souls 1 and 2 and 3, I mean, that was just like, like, oh, I'll download them and play them, whatever. Like, I'm not really considering it, like, as a full-on, I'm gonna want to 100% it. Even though I know I'm going to, it's just, if you're just downloading something to download something, you're not thinking about it that way. But, like, Skyrim or something, it's like, I know I'm gonna want to do everything in there that I can. So that's when I get the books out.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. There's a lot of games, especially through like any of the Game Pass systems for the different consoles, that like I'll download a game and I'll be like, maybe I'll like it, maybe I won't, but I'm already paying for this, so I might as well try something different. I don't feel necessarily committed enough to it to be like doing in-depth research as to like what character class should I play as, what's the best DPS on this class or whatever. I just kind of am like, okay, I'll just vibe, see if I like it or not, and then if I don't, I'll just turn it off, delete it, never play it again.
All right, well, you're leading me into 2 things, like, really good, and I feel like this segue is so amazing that I want to take advantage of it. 2 things. My Xbox Live ran out, and I did not know that you can't buy it by the year anymore. I got grandfathered in, and for some reason it told me I had to pay $75, even though I have my card on my Xbox, it didn't renew. So I'm like, I'm not fucking doing that. But then once I canceled the renew, I figured out I can't even do a year membership anymore. So then I was really fucking pressed. So I just figured I'm not ever going to play online again. But I went on Amazon, luckily, and Amazon had a code. It was, $60 code for a year. I don't know how much longer they're going to have that on Amazon or anything. I might need to, like, buy a few and bulk up. But that was really annoying, and I couldn't wait to tell you that. I literally didn't text you about that this morning to cry about it because I knew we were going to be recording.
Yeah, I used to always get the 1 year Xbox Live Gold for like $60 is what it was for a long time. On my birthday or Christmas every year, so then I didn't have to worry about it for the rest of the year or whatever. I'd always ask for that every year.
Yeah.
For part of my gift or whatever for my gift. And then I just don't have to worry about it anymore. And now it being month to month really sucks. And it's like what, like $15 a month or something too?
Well, if you get just the regular base like I do, it's $10 a month, but then it's doubled in price. So it went from $60 to $120 a year.
Yep.
So I was really pissed off about that, dude. Like, that is so fucked up. So, like I said, dude, I think I'm just gonna buy a few of those codes and then load a bunch of them in. But the other thing I wanted to talk about, since we were talking about games, you know what? No, I'll start with you. Since we're talking about games, do you have any good game news for me? Because I have not been up to date on anything.
I have one small thing, and we're back on Deadlock because I am a drug addict for this game.
Hey,
cannot stop playing it. It's hitting my MOBA fix that I haven't needed in a long time. There was a big update for the game, actually, that just came out 2 days ago, I believe now, and they added 4 new characters to the game, and in doing so, they have completely broken the game, and it's very funny because I've played enough MOBAs to know that pretty much most of the time when they release new characters, they're either way too good or not even close to good enough. Like, they just miss the mark all the time.
Okay.
And in most of the MOBAs, like something like League of Legends, you'd have to buy the new character, like, or have enough points saved up to get the new character or whatever. So it makes sense to release the character really broken because they want you to buy it or whatever. But this game is completely free because it's the beta testing or whatever. Well, they released these 4 new characters, and they're just like, at least 2 of them are just worlds above what every other character in the game is doing right now. and they just made it so the patches are longer in between to give more time for people to adjust to the changes, because they were for a while doing like weekly updates, and now they're like, we want to step back, see how stuff goes. And they did that right in line with them releasing these 4 new characters that are completely broken in half, just like triple the DPS of some of the other characters in the game, and it's just hilarious to see people completely melting down in the chats in the game over the characters. And, you know, some of it's justified, but at the same time, it's just like, if you've been around the block with MOBAs, you're kind of used to the new stuff being broken.
Yeah.
That's just how most games are, because that's what sells content, that's what gets people to play the game, is if the new stuff is interesting, and an easy way to make it interesting is to make it messed up.
Yeah, it's ever since they started rolling out, especially like the season pass content thing in the last like 5 or 6 years, I've never known a season to come out with a new weapon or character or something and it not be the strongest.
Yeah, it's takes me back to the Dragon's Breath in Call of Duty, the shotgun that was just like, you got hit with one pellet, you just died from across the map or whatever, and that was like a $12 pack for a skin in the shotgun or whatever. And
dude, I was just talking about that at work yesterday. Because I was talking about Marvel Rivals with one of my coworkers because his wife plays it. And he was like, yeah, I just can't stand when they do this, that, or that. You know, when they put stuff out, it's always, you know, you pay to play. And I'm like, they always say it's not, but then I brought up the Dragon's Breath, which they nerfed it 3 times, and to this day, it's still the most overpowered weapon in that fucking game.
Hilarious to me, personally.
It's not funny. I hate it so much. I hate it so fucking much.
Yeah, I like to laugh at it, because otherwise the alternative is being mad.
Well,
you know, it's...
Yeah, I don't need to get banned on Call of Duty again.
Yeah, I've had enough chat bans in MOBAs that I know not to talk about the new characters in the all chat.
So what else did they introduce in that update?
It was 4 new characters, all with was the big change. They did a couple like small graphic tweaks or whatever, like reskin some of the vehicles. The game is like kind of like I said, it's like you're beta testing it or whatever. So like the final graphics aren't even in the game yet necessarily for a lot of the stuff. So they've been slowly reskinning the buildings and the vehicles and stuff like that to make it look better.
That's pretty sweet, actually.
Yeah, so it's cool to slowly see the game kind of come to life in that way. And now there's, I think, 25 unique characters in the game, all with their own abilities and passives. And there's like, I feel like 60-something items in the game that you can buy throughout the course of the game to change your character, and all of them work differently with how you want to play your character and stuff. So just adding 4 new characters to the game that all interact with the items and interact with different characters are good against other characters based on like what their kit does and stuff like that. So it's just adding those 4 characters completely shook the game up again, and it's kind of made me super into it all over again, even though it's in a frustrating way, because, again, the characters are just way overtuned. But it's just going to be one of those things where they're just going to roll the damage back a little bit, and it's going to be fine.
Right,
I think they're...
right.
Like, what the characters do is fine if it's scaled back a little bit. They're just doing way too much damage, and it's kind of funny to see.
Yeah, I know. I always enjoy that, especially when I can get one of those characters while it's still broken. Like when I was playing Elden Ring and Radahn was complete. This is the opposite. And Radahn was completely busted, and then I beat him right before right before they nerfed it. I beat him, and then they nerfed him that weekend. Because, like, now I'm in that elite society where it's like, I did it. And it's like playing with these characters and then being able to reminisce about it in a few years, like how great they used to be. That's always such a fun, like, exclusive group to be in.
Yeah, it's a cool thing to remember, too, and, like, this takes me kind of on 2 small asides here, is like in League of Legends a long time ago, one of my favorite characters is Tom Kent. She's a big catfish, and she's like from New Orleans, Louisiana. He's got that kind of accent, and he's like a master chef or whatever, but his whole thing is he like slaps people with his tongue, and then he eats them, puts them in his stomach, and like walks around with them or whatever. And there was a time where when the character first came out, it was incredibly broken. And you could swallow people, and you could just, like, spam the dance emote, and it looked like you were shaking them up in your stomach, like you're shaking a big soda can.
That's actually pretty good.
And then you just spit people into the wall, and they'd, like, automatically die because it just did way too much damage or whatever. And it was just, I have so many memories of us just screaming in a Discord with some of my friends or whatever about, like hitting them with the Tom Kent soda can. And just, like, people would be rage typing in chat because the character's still alive in your stomach until you spit them out and kill them. So they're just like already angry typing in the chat as they're still in your character's stomach and just shaking them up.
That's pretty amazing, not gonna lie.
Yeah, and it's the same way as like in Magic. Sometimes they'll release a really broken card, and everyone will be playing it for a couple weeks, and it's horrible. But then it's so funny to talk about and reminisce later on about like, do you remember that time that Hogak was super broken, or do you remember this time that this like you couldn't play anything but these cards or whatever? And it's at the time it's frustrating, but it is really cool to be able to think about how much a game you enjoy changes over time and how much something small can really impact the game in such a big way.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking about. I love being in those sort of groups about games like that, just being there early or being there during like that perfect sweet spot.
Yeah, so definitely makes good memories for sure, even if at the time it can be frustrating. So I try to take any of these sort of updates in games I like with a grain of salt, unless they just leave it to kind of fester in the game for too long.
Yeah. Because then it becomes like it's no longer like kind of like cheeky and funny. It's just like, dude, please, I'm begging you, fix it.
Yeah,
Shut
let me
up,
enjoy this again. Still waiting. Still waiting.
So, since we're going to talk, you were talking about these good times about playing games, I want to talk about some bad times. Marvel
Naturally.
Rivals. Have you played it yet?
I have not played it yet, but I've been watching people play it. I have downloaded it, but I have not played it because I cannot stop playing Deadlock.
Okay, that's fair. I get that. So, Ethan wanted me to download it, and I was like, okay, you downloaded Halo for me. I'll download this, and then we have something else to play together. I do not like the game, personally. It just feels like a bad Overwatch, because I kind of like Overwatch. I mean, I don't play it very often anymore, but like if I'm feeling in the mood for that sort of game mode, I'll download Overwatch 2. So it just feels like a bad version of that. Almost every single character sucks. There's a few that are really, really, really strong, and then the rest are just kind of booty. And I think, honestly, my biggest critique, because it's a brand new game, they're going to fix all of that. My biggest critique is just, I don't like the maps. I think the maps are fucking trash. But my friends are playing it, so I play it with them because, it's just whatever. I mean, it's a free game. It's not like it's hurting me or anything. But Julian was cooking me nonstop because we've been playing a little bit of Call of Duty together. He's cooking me nonstop about this game, and I'm like, dude, I didn't ask you to fucking play it. I just said, did you? Because then we can have something else to play. And then I played with him this morning, and he's like, yeah, I downloaded Marvel Rivals. It's actually a pretty good game. I had a lot of fun playing it last night. I'm like, what the fuck, dude? You were sitting there fucking cooking me, and then he played it all last night. So we ended up getting on, and we were doing that. We were playing, like, there's certain characters you can kind of jumble with each other, like kind of like a team synergy sort of thing.
Right.
So we were doing that, and it was like a lot of fun or whatever. Like, but I think it's the way I define if a game is fun or not, for me personally, is can I play it by myself and still have fun? Because I could play almost anything with my good friends and have a great time. I just don't think I had ever seen myself playing this game, to be honest with you. So I guess if I had to give it like a number score, because that's something I kind of want to do going forward, especially because this is the year of games again, I would probably give this game like a 5. It's not bad. It's not good. It's just, I think, a game to play with your friends, because I'm sure everybody for the next few weeks will have it downloaded before everybody starts uninstalling it and going back to Overwatch.
So I have not played the game. I've watched a lot of it. I've played a lot of Overwatch and games like this, because I would consider like Deadlock sort of like this, but it's a little bit different with like the item system in the game, but similar to like a team-based fighting game, team-based objective game or whatever. This game actually, the fall off is way lower. Like the number of people who have left the game is significantly lower than like even Overwatch 1 was. Like people are really sticking with the game, which I found to be pretty interesting. Like currently, as of right now, on January 19th, 3:45 p.m., there's 452,000 people in the game right now. Like it seems like it's doing really well. Part of my issue with the game is a bit of a superficial one that's maybe not entirely fair. I'll say I'm biased. I'm not the biggest Marvel person.
Me either. I don't care about it at all.
Like, I do really like some of the Marvel characters. I like Spider-Man. I like Iron Man. I've read a lot of Marvel comics. Wasn't super into them, but I understand the lore. I like it generally. I just feel like it's been so oversaturated in the market, and I'm just kind of ready for something different. But it does seem like the game is doing really well. I've heard very good things from a lot of my friends. I'll have to play it with you sometime. and then we could maybe talk some more about it.
I think me, Julian, and Ethan are playing later if you want to play.
Yeah, I might be down. That could be a good time. Yeah, it's definitely the kind of game I could get into though, because I do really like these like hero-based kind of like objective fighting shooter game kind of things or whatever.
Yeah.
Like Overwatch. I like games where you can like find specific characters that kind of like really vibe with you and kind of like dig in to like really figure out the ins and outs of those characters. So I feel like I could get into it. I'll definitely give it an honest try.
I think you'll find it middling. I mean, you might enjoy it. I think the reason why people like it more than like an Overwatch or anything like that is because they're playing characters that they know. And if you're a comic book fan at all, there's probably some niche characters in there that you're like, I never thought I'd be able to play as this character. Like, I'm sure there's some of that, but I think over the last few years, you really got to give a game like 2 months, and then you can really see like what the stable player base will be, especially with Civ and Avowed coming out in like 2 weeks. I mean, I could really see the player count taking a nosedive.
Yeah, I definitely think that this kind of circles back to something we talked about a while ago on the podcast, that these games that are free to play just have such a lower bar to be playable.
Yep.
And I'm not saying that's true for this game specifically. It could be
right.
again, I haven't given it a fair try, but you can just I'm downloading it right now because I put it in my library, but I guess I didn't download it. So I'm downloading it right now. It's completely free for me to just pick it up and play. And so like what you're talking about, like I don't have to be like, go buy this $70 video game you might like to play with me sometimes.
Yeah.
Is a lot higher bar, especially just in the world we live in. $70 is a lot of money for a lot of people.
Yep.
It's a lot higher bar than just to be like, hey, this game is 50 gigabytes and it's free. Go download it. If you hate it, you can just uninstall it, and you didn't really lose anything for it besides the time that you committed to it.
Right.
And it's like, and at that same level, like it's so easy to just be like, this isn't my favorite game, but my friends have it, so of course I'll play this over playing whatever one-player game I can play anytime because my friends are on right now, and this is a game we can all easily play together.
Me as fuck.
So I do think that's a huge piece of like why these free to play games are so popular, and so it's just so easy to just like pick it up and play it and try it out. And a lot of people who really like video games can find some amount of enjoyment in almost any video game, unless it just completely doesn't click with you, And like, again, Marvel's not my favorite IP, but at the same time, like I do like this style of game, so I'm sure I could probably get a lot of hours out of it if I want to.
Yeah.
And genuinely enjoy it, even if it's not my favorite type of game or favorite game. So
yeah, I get what you mean. That's why I gave it like a 5 out of 10. It's not a bad game at all. I think it's fine. I think it'll be fine-tuned very well. It's just, like you said, it's just a game that I'm definitely only going to play if my friends are playing, and I think that is what makes the difference between a good game and a bad game. For me, personally. Is will I play it by myself? Because, like, you're playing Deadlock consistently by yourself. So it's like you would give that a good score for you personally, because you would play that whether you're playing with somebody or you're not. So that's how I define it personally.
Yeah. I think my only critique of the game from watching it a lot is it just feels a bit uninspired in how much of a clone it is of Overwatch.
I don't think that's always necessarily a bad thing, though.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, there's a lot of games that are like other games, like Diablo and Path to Exile are a good example of two games that like a lot of people really like the new Path to Exile, and it's pretty much just like Diablo, but you capture a different player base.
Yeah.
Despite them being very similar.
Yeah, that's
and, stuff like.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say stuff, like Dota 2, League of Legends, and Smite are all the same kind of game, but capture very different audiences. Or like Rust and Ark Survival Evolved are the same type of games, but capture different audiences.
Yeah. Yeah, but like going back to what you were saying, I think that never really bugged me about being like a super big clone, because I think especially for something like that where it's just, this is just a type of game at this point, like that sort of like hero-based objective game, that's just a type of game. I think if you have something to commit, if you can do something properly, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter if it's the same, if it's not the same. As long as the way you execute it, which I will say Marvel's execute, what they're trying to do is very straightforward. It's exactly what they want to do, and I think they do it very well. Because, I mean, it's basically just Marvel Overwatch. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. I don't think it's that bad. I think it'll be balanced in the next upcoming month or two. I honestly, that never really bugged me, dude. I think I like certain games a lot, in that if more people tried to do that, like, say, even, I mean, Outer Worlds or whatever, that fucking Fallout in space, it wasn't, well, not even Starfield, the first one. A lot of people are just like, it's just Fallout in space. Like, why would I play that? And it's like, well, because I love Fallout and I love space. And they did it well. It's a good game. I played it a few times. So it's like, that stuff just, I mean, it doesn't bug me that much, to be honest with you.
Yeah, for me, it depends on how much it's been redone. Like, Overwatch is at least a game that hasn't been remade 1,000 times, whereas something like the Far Cry formula has been done so many times. If I see a game is that same type of Far Cry or like Assassin's Creed formula, I just won't even play it anymore.
Yeah, I get that.
So it does depend on if they've just how dead the horse is that they've been beating with the stick, you know.
Well, I'm somebody who will see a fucking skeleton of a horse and I'm like, give me a stick. Give me a stick. I don't care.
It could take a little more.
More. Dude, I don't even care, man. I'm a very simple man. I mean, you gotta think I'm a Bethesda fan. I like seeing the exact same game made, except with a tiny bit nicer graphics. I'm very,
we could
very
do one
simple.
more. We could do one more fetch quest.
You know what?
Do one more 500 collectible feathers. Just one more.
I'm not afraid. More. But
More.
How about I'll give you something game adjacent to something I've been talking to you about that I'm pretty excited. So, since we're talking about Elder Scrolls, man, dude, I'm killing it with these fucking segues, gold star. I read the Elder Scrolls books that they got on Audible. I listened to them, and I wanted to give you a review of them. So, these books take place between Elder Scrolls 4, Oblivion, and Skyrim. So it's 40 years after Oblivion, 150 years before Skyrim. And I didn't know, like, what to expect. Because, I mean, the only lore I get from these games, because you gotta think, you can kind of get away with not getting that much lore if you don't want to. So, like, I die for it. I'm one of those people. They immediately start in the Black Marsh and go deep dive into Argonian. So I was like, Hunter would love this.
True. Those are my boys.
Dude, it was incredible to, like, I didn't even know that Argonian wasn't their name. That's just what the Imperials call them. So, they deep dive into that, and then, like, it's kind of like another Oblivion thing. People, like, this floating city comes, and it's killing everybody, and I don't want to spoil it, because I want you to listen to it. But the book 1 ends off at, like, the middle of the story, and then book 2 immediately starts up with it. So it's like the two books are basically one. I'm gonna be honest with you, dude. I'm giving the books 10 out of 10.
What is the first one called?
The first one is called... let me get it up for you. Because I know the second one. I just can't remember them.
Is it the Infernal City?
Yes, the Infernal City, and the second one's Lord of Souls.
Okay. The first one is in the Infernal City, though, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to download it right now on Audible, so I have credits.
Awesome, dude.
Oh.
I know, I heard it.
That's my evidence.
But,
no, I'll try to listen to that some this week, though, and so then we can talk some more about that, too.
Did you read The Witcher or Game of Thrones?
No.
Okay. So, I would say that these two, because the Witcher books are probably one of my all-time favorite books. Same with Game of Thrones, but I would say they're significantly more similar to The Witcher. He definitely, the writer of these books, basically gives you a Witcher style, like the way that he describes the environments, the way that he describes emotions, what people are doing in a scene. I've only ever really encountered that with, The Witcher, first and foremost. I'd say the writer of The Witcher is probably one of the best writers I've ever encountered in my entire life, dude. Like, probably my favorite writer ever. And then you see a little bit in Game of Thrones, too. I think The Witcher kind of maybe influenced Game of Thrones a little bit. Like, the way that they set up the scenes for what the people are doing. These Elder Scrolls books do that perfectly, and then it's also lore for an IP that you're already very familiar with. Because since you played Oblivion and you played Skyrim, I think you would very much appreciate it because they're talking about a lot of stuff that happened in Oblivion that you would probably remember. You know, just like the main things. Nothing too much of a deep dive. But I'm honest with you, dude. It's probably some of the best books I've ever read in my life. They're so goddamn fucking good, dude. So I really wanted to tell you about that because I was so excited. I finished both books in a day and a half.
Wow, killed it.
Dude, they're fucking great. So goddamn good, dude.
And I need to have you. I have an Audible recommendation for you if you have time, sometime too.
Yeah, do you want to give it to me right now?
Yeah, it's one of my favorite book series when I was a kid, even though they're not necessarily kid books, you know. The first one is, I believe, called Nine Princes in Amber. It's the Chronicles of Amber is what the series is, and there's 10 books, I want to say. There's 5 from the main character's perspective, and then the next 5 are from his son's perspective. And it's a similar setting, sort of, to Skyrim and like The Witcher and stuff like that, but it's mixed in because the character can travel between like Earth and these like alternate dimensions that kind of like layer on top of each other that take you to like a more real reality. The real reality is like a high fantasy place with sword fighting and castles and hippogriffs and griffins and stuff like that. And then like you can travel. The main characters can travel through these different. They're called shadows of reality, and it's highly recommended to anyone listening in general. It's probably my favorite book series of all time. But I think you would like them a lot if you like The Witcher and Game of Thrones and the Elder Scrolls books.
Well, I got a surprise for you, Hunter. I already had that in my recommendation from the last time you told me that actually just recently. I have it up. That's the next ones I'm buying.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yep, just for you, King. Yeah, just for you.
I think you will like them a lot. They're very interesting. The way they're written is pretty fun, but there's so much lore building there.
Well, you know I'm a fucking whore for that.
Yeah. You know, if you really like lore and you want to take a break from fantasy for some sci-fi, you still have to listen to the Dune books, too.
Yeah, I plan on getting there eventually. I'm kind of just holding out, being stubborn right now because the movies are annoying to me. So I know the books I would like way more than the movies. But since I'm doing my Halo binge and I wanted to give you like my final series synopsis at the end, that's the only reason I haven't started the Dune books, if I'm being honest. Because I'm about halfway through the Halo books right now. So, but I took a break for the Elder Scrolls. So that's kind of why I haven't been hammering through those. Which I'll have I'm almost done with that second Halo book I've never read before. And then I'll give you an idea about those. They're 2 Master Chief books from when he was 16. So I'll let you know about that probably next week when we record.
Okay, perfect.
But yes, I will get to Dune too when I'm done with Halo, and then we could talk about that. We'll have like a few Dune weeks where we can cover all that.
Yeah, that sounds great. That's another series I'm definitely addicted to. I listened to all those audiobooks just last year too. Also, well, all of the main series written by the author, not the ones written by his son, because no.
Yeah, I get that. I get that.
I said 6 long-ass books is where I draw the line.
I will only give you 80 hours. That's it.
Yeah, I think it was a lot more than 80. I think the main book is like 40 hours.
That's amazing. I already love it.
Yeah.
That's probably my favorite thing about Game of Thrones is that every book is like 50 hours. I think the shortest book is like 35. But how about we talk about something else that I know you've been excited to talk about. Arcane.
All right, I'm ready. Yes. You finished it.
I did finish it, yes.
It's your favorite TV series of all time. I'm here with Arcane's biggest fan.
I really like the first season. I really, dude. I'm not even being sarcastic. I really like the first season. So what do you want to cover next, buddy?
All right, yeah, we're moving on. This is a good episode. Nothing more to talk about. All right, well, I need to hear more about what you think of the second season, what you liked and didn't like. I need you to dive in on this a little bit for me so I can have some jumping points here, because I thought the first season was 10 out of 10, and I thought the second season was like 8.5 out of 10. I liked it a lot, but I definitely think the first one was better and less rushed.
I think the problem with the second season, the biggest problem with it, and this is not a me, I mean, this is a me thing, but like, I think it detrimented itself by having one of the best first seasons of any show I've ever seen. Like, it's definitely up there as one of the best first seasons I've ever seen. And I think the second season is a very good season. I think the story was really good. I think where they went with it isn't where I would have went with it, but I think they did very well with what they did. But the fact that the first season was literally a 10 out of 10, that I think is what hampers it the most for me. I think I really liked the Moderna mom, the wolf mom, but she
Right.
seemed like such a dumb character to be causing all of the main problems in the story when there was already so many problems they could have solved without her being the one kind of puppeteering it.
You mean Mbessa, right?
I don't remember her mom's name off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
but
yeah,
like,
that's what you mean.
yeah, I like her. I really like her character. I like what she's about. I like what she does. She's like the evil person you actually really like, because I get also why she's motivated. I also think she doesn't even really realize why she's motivated. She says it for family, but I think that's hoopla. I think she's just a great fucking villain, dude. Like, somebody I would like somebody I could understand why people follow. Like, awesome, dude. The daughter was really cool. The fact that she's a witch was fucking awesome. I liked that a lot. Oh, I like that the rift was, like kind of fucking everything up and everything was really bad because of the hex tech technology. Like, that was kind of a really cool plot point. I also like that the mage that saved him when he was a kid was Victor from a different realm. That was fucking dope.
Yep.
I really liked that. I liked most of the Victor stuff, but it was kind of all of the stuff in the background I wasn't really a fan of. I think the Civil War was kind of dumb. I think a lot of the relationships didn't interest me as much as they did in the first one. I also think it's kind of ass that they just didn't really deep dive into the Hex Tech guy and the Moderna daughter, like the witch lady. They just kind of like threw away their relationship altogether because they were both gone until like the last 2 episodes.
Yeah, they were on their own arcs, Jace and
yes, Jason.
What can't I think of? What is her name?
I can't remember, but you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a big bummer because I really liked them. I liked both of them. I liked their plots. I liked the way that they stayed with what they wanted to do the whole time. I really liked them. But I also wish I could have seen... I feel like they didn't really get any sort of... Well, I get that nobody really got a happy ending, but like, they both survived and then there just wasn't really anything left. It sucks that Jinx died. Also, that was pretty fucked up what they were doing to their dad. How they turned him into that monster thing. That was so shitty.
Well, they didn't turn him into it. That was what Singed did, the scientist.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like, it's so fucked up that they were doing that to him.
Yeah, they needed a strong test subject for his experiments. I think one of the things I think is the funniest about the show is that Singed, like, objectively, like, the doctor objectively had the best and happiest ending, despite being one of the most awful characters in the show.
Yeah.
Because, like, he got everything he wanted. Like, his daughter was all right, was able to be saved. Like, he got to do all of his experiments. He played both sides. He worked with the Undercity. He worked with Mbessa. He worked with... You got to access the hex tech. Like, he just got everything he wanted out of everything, and he was just, like, objectively such a bad guy, and I feel like he got the happiest ending. Like, he got everything he wanted, and everyone else's lives are in ruin. And so he's just like, yeah, I got my daughter, I got the purple juice I wanted, I got it all. And I just think that's so funny.
An
like,
entire city,
it's kind of
not even just, like, the main people he fucked up. He literally poisoned an entire city for like 3 decades, and it still worked out for him.
Yeah, it really shows that you got to have some ambition. I'm just
No, that's what I'm saying, dude. I'm like, sometimes the bad side isn't really that bad, so what is the saying? You got to crack a few eggs.
That's a lot of eggs to crack.
Well, I got time. He was playing the long game, dude.
He played a very long game for sure.
But I thought that was actually really cool. That was probably the best part, is like to figure out that he actually had a reason for why he was such a fucking horrible person.
Yeah, I think that's so. One of the reasons I like the show a lot, just in a general sense, is I feel like it does a very good job of explaining ambitions. Mm-hmm. And I feel like a lot of shows try and make like good and bad so black and white, and like this is a good guy, this is a bad guy. Also kind of my issue with some of the Marvel stuff too, or like that superhero stuff is like it's just boring to make the bad guy evil because he likes to do evil stuff. Like it's so much more interesting when you can flesh out, like, Singed is a bad guy because he's doing everything he's doing because he wants to save his daughter.
Yeah.
Like, Jinx and Vi have gone through so much trauma in their life and were the victims of so much societal pressure and so much violence, and that they didn't seek out. That, like, it was put upon them or whatever. And, like, so many of the characters are so interesting, even the bad characters. Like Silco, and, like, you think he's so bad or whatever, and, like, you hate him. And it's like you find out more about him, and it's like, yeah, he's a bad character, but you can understand some of his ambitions and his motivation, that he does want to free his people, and he's willing to go to these massive extremes to see it out.
Yeah.
And same thing with Singed, is like he's doing all these horrible things, but he believes it's the right thing to do because he's doing it for his family, or his idea of family. And it's like, I just think that's such... every show that wants to show you anything in depth needs to kind of be at that level where they're willing to explain that the most people who are bad or evil are doing the things they're doing because of things that they either think are right or because of circumstance that was put upon them,
Yeah.
Most people in the real world aren't bad just because they decide to be bad. Like, there's something going on, and there's a lot to explore with kind of that morality, and then bending that morality to see, like, at what point would you do a bad thing for the people you care about,
Yeah.
I think is an interesting question that the show asks kind of over and over again.
Yeah, I thought that was probably my biggest takeaway from it. I really liked it. I really definitely hated every bad guy less by the end of the show, once you really got an entire fleshed out idea of what they were about and what they were doing. Especially, like you said, the doctor guy. I mean, it looked like he died like 2 separate times in the first season, and to figure out that he makes it all the way to the end is crazy.
Yeah, definitely.
I would give the second season, I don't know, maybe a 7 out of 10. Like, the overall story I thought was really good. There was just certain aspects about it that they went in turns that didn't really make a lot of sense to me, or like major characters were just gone, especially characters that kind of like ended all of the strife were just gone until the very end. I don't know, I just felt more bored, I think, overall in the second season. But I think watching the first season right before there also did hamper a little bit of that for me.
Yeah, I felt like bored is kind of the opposite of how I felt in the second season. I kind of felt almost overwhelmed. Like, there was so many subplots and plots, and like, I feel like it felt like there was a whole other season they wanted to make, and they were forced to kind of fold it into 2 seasons.
They probably were, because it was so expensive.
Yeah, there was like just so many characters and storylines that I really wanted them to kind of flush out a little bit more than they did.
Yeah, I get that. I think that might be why I felt like it was just kind of boring, because I feel like some of the main things that were kind of going on in the background, they dedicated 30 minutes in an episode to, and then that was kind of it.
Yeah, I overall, I really liked it. I felt like the first season just kind of did what the second season did a little bit better, and the second season was there to kind of wrap things up.
Yeah.
Is kind of how I felt. So I do agree that I think the first one did a lot more for me than the second one, and I think that the first one was a lot more on theme. I feel like it was a lot about these power dynamics, and I think it was a lot about like class struggle between the poor and the rich, and I think that there was like the physical barrier between them with the Undercity and everything. I just think that there was a lot that they did that was very interesting and very well done, and I feel like the second season they abandoned a lot of that for bigger topics that I feel like they didn't sell as well.
Yeah, I get that.
But still probably one of my top 10 favorite shows of all time, maybe top 5. Probably top 5. Real.
That's a stretch, but I get it. I get it.
Yeah, I am biased a little bit though, because like I said, I've been playing League of Legends since I was in like 8th grade.
Yeah.
On and off or whatever, so I'm very familiar with the characters and the game and everything. So I'm a little bit biased because this is something I kind of was wanting for a long time as well.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Well, since we're on the topic of shows, I want to give you a real quick thing too that I wanted to touch. So I started Severance because it was free on Roku, and I'm not going to dive into it yet because you promised me you would watch some of it. This show is something that did not bore me at all. Like, this is such a fucked up, deep show that was kind of stressful. Like, it's a thriller. It's not scary. It's like an insane thriller. Me and you had a talk the other day. It really fucking makes you think, dude. It ends on, like, one of the biggest cliffhangers in the world, like, out of any show I've ever seen. And I'm actually happy I did not start it sooner, because I've been wanting to watch this for years. I'm happy I did not start it sooner, because the second and I believe last season just started on Friday.
awesome.
So I'm going to start watching those. I might honestly just wait for the whole season to be out because this show, dude, it seriously. I had to watch the last episode twice because it had me so tense and stressed out that I had to skip parts of the episode that they weren't doing anything. I only wanted to see the conclusion. So, we already talked about that. But, like, you'll understand how stressful, because all these episodes are like 50 to over an hour long. And when you're doing, like, you have 5 or 10 minutes in an episode where people are just walking around observing their surroundings, that pisses me off when I know something's about to happen. So I had to watch it twice because I was so stressed and tense. And it's probably the craziest ending to any season I've ever seen in my life, dude. I would give the first season of Severance a 10 out of 10. I cannot wait to see what you think about it.
Yeah, well, it's on my my bookmarks right now, so I will maybe start that tonight. Actually,
I would really appreciate that, dude, because the second season's out. I'm gonna start watching that, and I'm gonna want to talk to you about it. I think it's only 9 episodes.
Are they hour each?
It ranges. I think the shortest one is like 48 minutes, but yeah, it goes up to over an hour. I think.
Awesome. Yeah, I should be able to start that this week. And at least have a couple episodes to talk to you about.
Yeah, especially because it's so fresh in the mind, I know like where to stop talking about stuff. So then, because since we're so far out of spoiler range, we can actually just like talk about it. But the last thing I wanted to talk to you about, since we're talking about all this stuff, is I don't know why, but I started all the Quentin Tarantino movies in order, and I started from the very beginning. I think the only one I'm not going to watch is Pulp Fiction, because I watched that multiple times a year already. And have you watched them all? Have you watched any of them?
I am pretty sure I've seen all of them.
Dude, I have just been in love with it. Like, I'm on such a hardcore story kick right now that, like, the depth of his dialogue has been blowing my fucking mind again. Because I've seen all of his movies. I didn't like Kill Bill. Like, I objectively didn't like it. But all the rest of his movies are, like, some of my favorite movies ever. Jackie Brown was okay. I would say it's definitely a good movie, but it's just eh. But yeah, I wanted to tell you about that. I'm not a big, I mean, I see movies in the theaters, but I don't watch a whole lot of movies at home. So I wanted to let you know that I was watching those. I've been loving it, dude.
Yeah, I'm looking at the catalog right now. I have not seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
One of my favorite ones.
I have not seen that, but the Hateful Eight, Django Unchained, and Inglourious Bastards are some of my favorite ones. Inglourious Bastards is probably my favorite one. But I do like Pulp Fiction a lot. It's close. But that one I watched when I was younger with my dad, and I liked it a lot. So there's a lot of nostalgia there for me. But Inglourious Bastards, I love the plot of the movie. I like the way it subverts expectations with the ending. It's awesome. I think that's one of my favorites, probably.
I have only actually seen that one time. Right when it came out, me and my dad watched it. I have not seen it again since, and I need to rewatch it. But Hateful Eight is probably my favorite movie of his.
Yeah, that one's really good. It's also long as hell, but a lot of his movies are pretty long.
Yeah, especially the extended version, because I think it's an extra like 20 or 30 minutes, and that's the only one I watch. I fucking love that movie, dude.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really want to
Yeah,
tell you about that, dude, because I've been enjoying it. I only took a break because of Severance.
Yeah, let me try and sneak in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood this week too. Let me write that down, so then we could also talk about that.
Cool. I will. This week I'm going to continue my binge. I think next is because like I said, I'm skipping Kill Bill because I don't care for that movie. Because I consider Volume 1 and 2 like he does. Volume 1 and 2 are just the same movie. It's part 1, part 2. I didn't care for them. I think they're a good 80s kung fu movie. But if I'm gonna want to watch an 80s kung fu movie or a 70s kung fu movie or blaxploitation, I'll just go watch one. I don't need to watch that one. It doesn't do anything for me. Plus, I don't really like Uma Thurman, if I'm being honest with you.
Well, that's one way that you and Quentin Tarantino differ a lot.
Yeah. Well, luckily, I love feet.
Yeah. Yeah, that was kind of where I was going with that one for sure.
You're gonna love Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, dude. I mean, it's basically foot in armpit hair central. It's crazy. All right, I'm gonna pull up a list right now. I'm pretty sure Inglourious Basterds is my next one. No, From Dusk Till Dawn, which came out the same year as Jackie Brown. From Dusk to Dawn, which isn't considered his movie. He just directed it and starred in it.
Yeah, that one is one of my all-time favorite movies, actually.
Yeah, my buddy who made our theme song, he said the same thing. That's probably his favorite movie by him.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of stuff in there that I feel like you're gonna watch it, and there's some stuff I've referenced from that movie for sure over the course of our friendship. If you haven't seen it, it's awesome though. It's so camp, but at the same time not. I don't know. It's a really fun movie in my opinion. It's got a lot of very famous and good actors in it as well.
I will watch that tonight.
Got George Clooney, Danny Trejo, Quentin Tarantino in it. It's like it's gonna be awesome.
I love Danny Trejo.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, so I will make that my thing that I do tonight. When I get home from the store, I might play a little bit of Marvel with the boys, but if I don't, I'm just gonna start that and I will make sure to knock that one out.
Yeah, that one, I would love to talk about that next week.
Sweet. I'll watch it tonight then, and then we can talk about it. But next up on my list, because I'm not doing Kill Bill, is Death Proof. And then, obviously, the remainder of his movies are all the ones we just talked about.
Yep.
So, yeah, so I will watch From Dusk Till Dawn tonight, and then I've never seen Death Proof. That's actually his only movie I've never seen.
Okay.
So I'm excited. I heard that one was really good. I heard it's definitely one of his lower... because I think he just made it because his friend wanted to do a double feature, but it's got a lot of actors I like. I think a lot of actors from Inglourious Basterds are in it, so I think I think I like it.
Yeah, I've seen that one, but it's been I feel like I saw it when it came out, or a little bit after it came out, so I have not seen it in probably 15 years, or 17 years or something.
Shit, okay. All right, well, that's what I got planned, and then we will have more stuff to talk about next week. Buddy, you got anything else for us?
I think I'm all set.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and we will catch you all next week. Thank you.
So...